before we start, am I audible at the back? Can people hear me at the back? Wonderful. Thank you. Very good evening, everyone. I recognize most of the faces in this room, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Vivek Baliga, and today's day is about my father, Dr. B.G. Baliga. I'm delighted to see all of you here today to celebrate the release of his book, Guardian of Hearts. This book is a literary portrayal by Professor N. Dayananda, who has already written extraordinary life stories over the last so many years of eminent people such as Professor L.S. Seshadri Rao, a scholar of eminence, Justice N. Venkatachala, the iconic Lokayukta of Karnataka, and Dr. S.S. Veeramat, a senior dentist and a humanitarian. And with such a galaxy, my father, B.G. Baliga, is in addition to the literary work of this professor. Ladies and gentlemen, we have invited guests to adorn the stage, and I will be happy to request them to come and take their seats. In order to do this, I request my brother, Vikram Baliga, and Sri Raghavendra Rao to kindly escort the guests. Vikram, please accompany Dr. C.R. Kamath. Please accompany Sri Shantaram Baliga. Kindly escort Dr. S.S. Iyengar to the stage. I now request Sri Raghavendra to escort Dr. C.N. Ramachandran to the stage. Sri Raghavendra sir, to kindly escort Professor N. Dayananda to the stage. A round of applause for the author also. And I request Sri Raghavendra to escort Sri M.V. Nagaraj Rao to the stage. Round of applause. I now request Vikram to kindly escort our parents, B.G. Baliga and Mrs. Aruna Baliga to the stage. A big thank you to Vikram and Sri Raghavendra Rao. I now call upon my wife Sindhu, who will welcome the guests and the audience.
Thank you, Vivek. A very good evening to everyone here. I consider it a great honor and a privilege to be given this opportunity to welcome the guests and the audience to this event. Today, we have some esteemed guests among us who have graced the occasion with their presence. Dr. C.R. Kamath is Ramakrishna Mam to Baliga family. A specialist in ophthalmology from England, he is one of the popular ophthalmologists in South Canberra. Dr. Kamath was the one who guided Dr. Baliga to pursue a career in medicine. When we requested, he was kind enough to accept our invitation to be with us and preside over this event. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kamath to this event. Our next guest of honor, Sri Shantaram Baliga, is a Gaudasaris with pride from Manipal. He is a literary figure in Konkani language and a journalist of repute. The whole Baliga family looks at him with utmost respect. When we invited him to this event, he was kind enough to accept it and come all the way from Bangalore to be with us today. We warmly welcome Mr. Baliga to this event. Our next guest tonight is Dr. C.N. Ramachandran. Kannada literary world is enriched by his literary criticisms and writings too. Being a retired professor of English from Bangalore University, Dr. Ramachandran has been in the forefront of literary happenings in Bangalore. He graciously accepted our invitation to come here and talk to us on Guardians of Hearts, the book of Dr. B.G. Baliga. We happily welcome Dr. Ramachandran. Wing Commander Dr. S.S. Iyengar, a senior consultant and HOD of cardiology at Manipal Hospital, has over 3 decades of professional experience and several publications to his credit. Dr. Iyengar, being a dear friend and a mentor to Dr. Baliga, was very kind to write a preface to his book Guardian of Hearts. We are very honored to have him with us and we extend a warm welcome to Dr. Iyengar. Our next guest here, Professor N. Dayananda, needs no introduction. He, a renowned and well-published author in both Kannada and English literature, is the author of the book Guardian of Hearts, which is being published today. A very hearty welcome to Professor Dayananda. Shri M.B. Nagaraj Rao is a popular publisher in Karnataka who obliged to lend Shingara Prakashana his coveted banner under which the book Guardian of Hearts is being published. We warmly welcome Mr. Rao to this event. Today is the day Dr. Baliga and Srimati Aruna Baliga has been eagerly looking forward to. It's Dr. Baliga's life that has been portrayed in the book Guardian of Hearts, and Srimati Aruna Baliga is the enthusiastic patron of the publication. Please join me in giving them a warm, cordial welcome. All of you to be with us here. Today we are thrilled and cheerful welcome to all of you. Hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.
I request Srimati Kritika, granddaughter of Dr. C.N. Ramachandran,
एकदन्तम् अनेकदं तं भक्तामुपास्महे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं विघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे सन्ततमहं दन्ति सुन्दरान्तकान्तकसुतं तमिह श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे सन्ततमहं दन्ति सुन्दरमुखम् अन्तकान्तकसुतं तमिह शङ्करसुतं तमिह श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे पालितसुरेन्द्रमहनीय गुणशीलं जपतपसमाधिसुखवरदानुकूलं पालितसुरेन्द्र महनीय गुणशीलं जपतपसमाधिसुखवरदानुकूलं भावितसुरमुनिगणभक्तपरिपालं भयङ्करविदङ्कमातङ्गकुलकालं भावितसुरमुनिगणभक्तपरिपालं भयङ्करविदङ्कमातङ्गकुलकालं श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे कनककेयूरहारावलीकलितगम्भीरगौरगिरिशोभं सुशोभं कनककेयूरहारावलीकलितगम्भीरगौरगिरिशोभं सुशोभं कामादिभयभरितमूढमधिकलिकलुषखण्डितमखण्ड प्रताराणवं सनकशुकनारद पतञ्जलि पराशरा सनकशुकनारद पतञ्जलि पराशर मतङ्गमुनिसङ्गसल्लापं सनकशुकनारद पतञ्जलि पराशर मतङ्गमुनिसङ्गसल्लापं सत्यपरमार्जनयन प्रमुखमुक्तिधर तत्त्वमसि नित्यनिगमादिस्वरूपं सत्यपरमार्जनयन प्रमुखमुक्तिधर तत्त्वमसि नित्यनिगमादिस्वरूपं श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे सन्ततमहं दन्ति सुन्दरमुखम् अन्तकान्तकसुतं तं शङ्करसुतं श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे श्रीविघ्नराजं भजे
I would request Srimati Aruna Padigal, sorry, my mother, to kindly felicitate Srimati Kritika on the stage. Please come. The gathering deserves a calm and divine atmosphere on this occasion, and we believe that lighting the lamp does the charm of creating the divine presence. I request our guests to kindly light the lamp and commence this evening's proceedings.
Madam? So,
I now call upon Srimati Aruna Baliga, the patron of the project, to kindly come and say a few words.
Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, this day is God's kindness and love for Dr. Baliga and his family. Dr. Baliga, my husband, has entered his 71st year, and we wish him Godspeed in the coming years of his life. Having known his altruistic tendencies, I admired him for over 4 decades. Now I have got the opportunity to tell the same, publicly by presenting his life in a book to be released on this occasion. Professor N. Dayananda, a well-known biographer, has written the book Guardian of Heart. My family is happy for this event, and I thank Professor Dayananda for his unique gesture. Sringara Prakashna of Chikkanayakanahalli has published the book, and I express my thanks to Sri N.V. Nagarajara, proprietor of the publishing house. My mother and family have always shown great concern about us, love and gratitude to them. Dr. Baliga's family must be remembered on this occasion for their affection to all of us. My husband's professional career has enjoyed his success with colleagues and friends. Last but not the least, the patients whose love and indulgence made what Dr. Baliga is today. Finally, I am thankful to all who have been with us on this occasion. You have made our day ever memorable in our lives. Thank you all.
Thank you, Amma. I now request Dr. C.R. Kamal to launch the book to the public.
Wait. Okay, sir, can you come close? Yes. Good. Yes. Very good. One more.
Thank you, sir, for launching the book. I now request Professor N. Dayananda, the author of Guardian of Hearts, to say a few words, please.
Good evening, everyone. Respected guests of the dais, Dr. Kamath, Dr. C. N. Ramchandran, Dr. S. Iyengar, Sri Shantaram Baliga, Sri M. N. Rao, Dr. Baliga, and Srimati Aruna Baliga. With a sense of fulfillment, I stand before you to declare Dr. Baliga, to say, Baliga, you are the guardian of hearts. As we all know, he has been saving lives. And one of the many breathing lives, after his timely care and action, to set my heart to its norm. My wish to express thanks to Dr. Baliga finally is possible by my writing a book about him to portray his life, which is so loving for me. I got serious interest in your life and its varied dimensions as I learned your nature was thoroughly revealed to me by your family people, friends, patients, and a few friends. Their experiences, though personal, yet to be counted, in an unbiased way, to say that Dr. Baliga, you are absolutely humane. Your emotions come from the depth of your heart. Your joy over patient's recovery, or sometimes even the sadness. Besides, the determination that the family of the patient show happened to move me to prevail on you to accept my presentation, namely Guardian of Hearts. Dr. Baliga, I am honored on this occasion. I would say, on behalf of all your patients, life graciously presented you to us to come out of our ailments and to be on the health track for a few more years. Kindly accept our good wishes and love from the families of your pet. May you live long to respond to cries of heart of the patients. For you, or you believe you are serving people with love and sincerity. May your family enjoy happiness in the years to come. This book has been possible because of the cooperation of so many people, in particular, Srimati Aruna Baliga, the patron, who has done a lot of things and really helped me to bring this book out in such a beautiful way. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity once again, and thank everyone. I do not want to talk anything about the book. There are others who are about to talk the book. I just remain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. They are very apt for this occasion. I request Srimati Shantala Dayananda to kindly take the stage and request my mother and father, Dr. Baliga and Mrs. Baliga, to kindly honor them. Shri Nagaraj Rao would also like to honor Professor Dayananda and Mrs. Dayananda. Please, sir. Shri Nagaraj Rao is a publisher and would like to honor Professor Dayananda and Mrs. Dayananda. Thank you very much. Now, I'm sure you're all curious about what the book is about. Dr. C.N. Ramachandran, a popular literary critic, will address and enlighten us about this book. Sir, I request you to take the dais.
Good evening to all of you. Dr. Kamath, the president of today's function, Dr. and Mrs. Baliga, the centerpieces of all the guests that have assembled here, and all the guardians of the heart and the mind who have gathered here in the auditorium and on the dais, scholars and friends. To start with, I would like to join many others to express my joy and happiness in wishing the Baliga couple a very, very happy future, full of health, wealth, prosperity. May God bless him, bless them, and their family the very best in his all mercy. Now let me come to the book released just now, that is The Guardian of Hearts, that is Dr. Baliga. It is written by Professor Dayananda, a professor of sociology, retired, but not yet retired as a writer. He has been writing poetry, fiction, philosophy, and biographies for the last 30 years, if not more. I know him only for the last 30 years. Maybe he began writing even earlier. And his special forte is biography, the forum biography. In fact, he has written already 6 well-known and appreciated biographies of great men and others. The biography of Dr. Baliga, released today, is the 7th biography written by Professor Dayananda. If there were a special award for writing biographies in Sahitya Academy, then Professor Dayananda would be the first to get them. I said this is the 7th biography, which means Professor Dayananda has honed in all his skills of writing and understanding. I would like to introduce some of the major features of this work, which make it an outstanding biography. To start with, there are no lengthy commendations by the friends and well-wishers of Dr. Baliga. In fact, in many biographies written by others, we find half the book full of the same compliments, the same praises by the well-wishers. Whereas here, there are no lengthy commendations at all. In fact, throughout, it is Dr. Baliga, Mrs. Baliga, then his sons, Dr. Vikram Baliga and the other son, and his family, talking about his personality and his work. This is the first major point to be found in this biography. Secondly, any person doesn't exist by himself. He exists along with his family, and the family exists in a particular community which has its own distinctive identity. Therefore, for the first time, I believe, in such biographies, Professor Dayananda first introduces us the Gaud Saraswata community to which Dr. Baliga belongs. And I think it's a very appreciable fact which underscores that no individual is alone and by himself. He has roots, and his roots stretch apart, binding him to a community, and that's what he underscores. And he gives a brief history of this migratory community. In fact, this is a point that needs to be studied further and further, I believe, because in India there have been innumerable migrations of many communities from one place to another, from one region to another, seeking a home. And wherever they find a home, they settle down there. This is true of Gaud Saraswat community, and it is also true of another community, a migratory community to which I belong. I don't know how many of you can recognize the word Sanketi. I'm sure at least a few of you do. And I am a Sanketi. That is, I belong to the Sanketi community, which is supposed to have migrated to Karnataka from Tamil Nadu about 700 years ago or 800 years ago. In fact, maybe Professor Dayananda, as a professor of sociology, is the right person to take up this topic, that is migratory communities, at least in Karnataka. Most of the communities here have migrated from one place to another for various reasons as such. Therefore, first he introduces us to the Gaud Saraswat community. And then, secondly, this is a special feature of Professor Dayananda. Each chapter begins not with a particular incident about a person or a place, but about general reflections on man, nature, God, and the social system. Each chapter, and these reflections, these abstract reflections, which are partly philosophical and partly sociological, function, as it were, a preface to the coming incidents in the life of Dr. Baliga and his community. Let me give you an example of how the philosophical or reflective introduction in the beginning of each chapter functions as a framework for the coming episode. For instance, take chapter number 3. There, as a sociological professor, he talks about how in every human being there are two distinct and opposite instincts. The one instinct is of a tiger, the instinct to attack, to overpower everyone else, so that you can have power and everything here on the earth. The instinct of attack, cruelty, jealousy to be found in a tiger. And also there is another instinct of the cow, suffering for the sake of others, but always helping them through milk, through its skin, in any manner as possible. Then what happens when an individual grows up in a society? He takes up that question and points out how the social build-up and the social modes have been there to tame the tiger in everyone and to nourish the instinct of the cow. The more the tiger instinct is suppressed and the more the cow instinct is nourished, better the man comes in society, man or woman, whatever. How does it relate to the story of the bodyguards? He explains it. It seems, though I can't believe now, that Dr. Baliga was so and so. He appears to be such a pious, courteous gentleman. But it seems as a young boy, he was very rebellious and extremely given to short tempers of anger. There are many incidents, and let me give you one incident to show the tiger instinct that was, luckily for us, in Dr. Baliga. It seems one day he sat for food expecting something, that is papad, happada in Kannada. But his mother hadn't prepared the papad or the happada that day. And the young boy, it seems, got so angry that he threw away the plate and went out talking of this and that. Of course, his mother knew the pranks and knew the whims and fancies of the boy, and therefore she tolerated all that. That is the cow instinct. The mother is entirely a cow who nourishes the husband, the children, and the other relatives so that they become tamed. In fact, all social norms are there to tame an individual, to suppress the tiger instinct and to nourish the cow instinct. This is how the abstract discussion of man, society, system, God, etc. functions as a framework for the coming incident in the particular chapter. Most importantly, a biography should contain the subject of the biography's views, opinions, ideas. And most biographers don't do it. They narrate the whole story as they understand. That is, they occupy the center stage. And the subject of the biography, the person about whom the work is written, is only in the periphery. At the center stage, it's the biographer narrating everything. Luckily for us, and luckily for Dr. Baliga and his wife, this is not so. Professor Dayananda allows them, Dr. Baliga, his wife Srimati Baliga, his sons, his daughter-in-law also, his patients to talk in their own words about Dr. Baliga. And the way Dr. Baliga comes out so honestly makes the readers appreciate him and admire him more than whatever Professor Dayananda had said about him as a narrator. In a biography, the author should narrate the minimum, and he should allow the subject and other persons related to the subject talk about the subject. And that's what Professor Dayananda has done, and I'm very happy with it. As a reader of literature, lastly, I said in the beginning that no individual exists in isolation. In fact, there is a very famous line by John Donne: no man is an island by himself. No man is an island by himself. He has people around him, friends, lovers, enemies, third persons, acquaintances. He lives with others. Therefore, when we read a biography of, let us say, Dr. Baliga, we expect that the book talks about others also. And that's what the book is. The book is not only about Dr. Baliga. It's about him. It's about his wife. It's about his mother. It's about his father, who struggled hard in the beginning, and just because of his perseverance, came up in life maybe after a decade or 2 decades of hard work as a gold merchant, and then gave very high education to his sons because he lacked it. This is the story of the father of Dr. Baliga. This is the story of the mother of Dr. Baliga, who put up with all the tantrums of her children and still made them good citizens and good people in this world. And it is the story of his sons. In fact, there are many instances where the sons have challenged the father, and the father later on appears to be happy that they have grown up so independently that they can challenge him, that they can get angry with him. That's the spirit in which a father should bring up his children. Also, the book gives very loving portraits of Dr. Ganeshan, of KMC, and then the great philosopher doctor. I knew him very well, that is Dr. B.M. Hegle. He is an expert in medical science, of course. He is also an expert in philosophy. He is also an expert in literature, and he is an expert in understanding human beings. So, we get a very touching picture of portrait of Dr. B.M. Hegle, and then Dr. Marian Ionescu in England, etc. Many others. That is, we enter, when we open the book, a galaxy of great people in various fields, and thereby we become satisfied about the condition of the society which can have such great people. In short, the book, The Guardian of Hearts, is an excellent biography, systematic, disciplined but not uninteresting writing, and I would like to place on record my hearty congratulations on a wonderful job done, Professor Dayananda. Now I have to raise a question and try to answer it as honestly as possible. That is, of course, there are works like this written by authors because they want to write, and they have perhaps the time to write or the inclination to write. And there are good publishers who publish such books. But the question is, why do we read a biography? I mean, it is not an imagined story which can entertain us. It is not a joke. It is not about politics which involves us. It is the story of one man among millions of people in this world. Why should we read it? Perhaps the answer, the only answer that can be given, is already given by a British poet, that is Longfellow. In his poem, The Psalm of Life, he says, "Lives of great men all remind us. Lives of great men all remind us we too can make our lives sublime. And while departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time." Wonderful lives. Lives of great men like Dr. Baliga, Dr. Raymond, Dr. Venkatachala, or going to the top of Gandhi, Nehru, and many others. The lives of all great men, they remind us that we too, by God's grace and by our perseverance, we too can become sublime and leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. If not a whole footprint, at least a mere sign somewhere on the vast seashore which says that such and such a man lived and he did not live in vain. In other words, we expect from a biography 2 points. Number one, it should satisfy our curiosity about how a particular man or woman became great. We say, Dr. Baliga is a great doctor. I would like to know, and I didn't know till I read this book, I would like to know how he became great. A great doctor, a great surgeon, and a good husband. What is the process? Were there any problems? Were there any hiccups? Were there any friends who pushed him up? What happened? That is, a biography should satisfy our curiosity about the particular person. How did he achieve what he has achieved? Secondly, a good biography should inspire us. It should give us inspiration that everything is now dead in this world. We needn't be negative about it. If we will it, and if we work hard for it, we can achieve what these people have achieved. Nothing is beyond our powers, our will, and of course, God's will. Presuming God's will, there is nothing on earth that anybody cannot get in this world. That is, it should inspire one. And this biography, Dr. Baliga, the Guardian of Gods, satisfies both these needs of the writers. Let me very briefly point out to you now how these two needs are fulfilled. Actually, the story proper begins with the father of Dr. Baliga, that is Pundalik Baliga, and then his initial poverty, his struggles, still his perseverance, gradual, very gradual rise in the society, and finally he, Pundalik Baliga, becoming a gold merchant and a considerable man of reputation and power. Then we go to Dr. Baliga's childhood, his rebellious spirit, which I talked about earlier, his medical education in KMC, Manipal and Bangalore, and then his higher studies in England, and the cold weather that can kill anybody in England, and his work there, and then afterwards, when he finds out, Dr. Baliga, that however good he is in the field, in the medical field, in England, only Englishmen are preferred for very high jobs. As even today in America, I mean, they welcome everyone, they respect everyone, but the highest positions in a corporate office or in a company or in the government is given only to an American, not to an Indian, however great or big he is. This was more so when Dr. Baliga was there in the 80s in England. He had all the qualifications to become the registrar after his MRCP of a particular hospital group. But he was not given that post only because he was not an Englishman. When he realized it, he goes to Saudi Arabia. And it is, as it were, escaping from the devil only to fall into the deep sea. And I know how every hour you feel the pressure of fear of what happens next haunting you in Saudi Arabia, which Dr. Baliga also experiences, as the narrator tells us. There is one moving paragraph in the words of Dr. Baliga himself about how he lived in Saudi Arabia. That is, I am sure all of you know that as soon as a person enters Saudi Arabia, his passports are taken away. And they are kept with somebody, with some official there. We don't know whether he loses them or misplaces them, and if he does so, what is to be done? That was true with Dr. Baliga also. He entered Dhamma, gave up his passports, and worked in many places as such, but always there was the fear that perhaps his passport wouldn't be given to him. Perhaps something else would happen to him. I mean, a new country, a new language. Very few people know English there, even today. It's only Arabic. And it's only the Arabic-speaking Saudi that is respected there. As I lived in Riyadh for a year or so, I know what Dr. Baliga must have gone through. And in that paragraph I was mentioning, when one of his friends, very sympathetic to his condition, somehow cajoles the officers, maneuvers, and gets the passport and gives it to him, Dr. Baliga can't believe it. He takes it up, he says, in his hands, sees the cover, is it the same passport, opens the pages to see if any sheet is lost, touches it as one touches a child, touches it lovingly, and then smells it. I mean, these are the words of Dr. Baliga, not mine. And then a deep sigh is heaved by him. That means you can understand how he had missed the passport and how important having our passport with us is in a country like Saudi Arabia. Finally, his homecoming, that is his return to Bangalore, and here his gradual work in the medical field to establish himself, and then the clinic to come up, and then of course the diagnostic center to come up, and then his children joining him in the same profession. I mean, the entire story of struggle, perseverance, and achievement. And achievement because not only of perseverance, but of excellence. Excellence in a particular subject, care for his patients, and perseverance. With these, he comes up in life and becomes actually a guardian of hearts, thousands of hearts. I am sure they are beating for the good of Dr. Baliga even now, wherever they are. In other words, the first question, that is, how did he become great? Through this hard path, struggling, but not giving up, moving further and not looking back, and suffering, but not allowing suffering to take it over. And this is the way I believe all great men move. In short, the portrait of Dr. Baliga that these pages of the biography draw is of a great medical expert, committed to his profession, a very strict disciplinarian, but full of love and care and joy of life. That is Dr. Baliga as we come to know from him. In a biography, there must be something more to make the reader read the book. I mean, you expect one to pay for the book and read it. And nobody obliges you paying some money and getting it unless he gets back something. And that is true of this point also. You see, there are twists and turns in almost in every life of a human being. A human being goes through certain turns and twists which he hadn't expected. And perhaps this is the reason why Shakespeare in Hamlet says, there is a divinity which shapes our ends. There is a divinity which shapes our ends. Rough hew what we will. That is, we want to do so many things, to become presidents, to become army commanders, to become the richest people on the earth, to have all the power, I mean everything. But rough you what we will, that is, whatever we want to do or try to do or dream of doing, there is a divinity which it decides, which shapes our ends. And that's very true of Dr. Badiga. There are many incidents, but I shall give you only 2 incidents to illustrate this point. How completely unexpected, unforeseen incidents took place to make him what he is today. One is, as it was already referred to, his meeting Dr. C.R. Kamath. It seems Dr. Badiga, as advised by his father, had taken commerce. And on the particular day when he was going to the college to join, it seems he met Dr. Kamath and they told him that he was taking up commerce. And it seems he said that Dr. Badiga is a very intelligent boy, so why do you take commerce? Why don't you go for science? So that later on you can become a doctor or you become an engineer or anything else. Come on. And somehow Dr. Kamath's words influenced Dr. Badiga to such an extent that immediately, even without telling his father, he went to the college and changed the discipline from commerce to science. And the result is what we see today. I mean, who would expect Dr. Kamath to meet Dr. Badiga on that particular day, at that particular point? Even if you had met him an hour later, it would have been different. And change the course of his life. Divinity shapes our ends. Secondly, perhaps what could have been really tragic, that is, this incident happened in England when he was doing his MRC. It seems there were, in the particular hospital he was working, there were many cancer patients, and one day he was on duty in the hospital, and the senior nurse was preparing a drug to administer to the patient, a British girl, young girl as such. She was suffering from cancer. In fact, as all of you know more than I, a doctor on duty does not interfere with the kind of drug that's being prepared or the way in which it is prescribed, the reasons for it, and how it should be administered. I mean, that has all been already decided. Some senior specialist will have prescribed, and a senior nurse would prepare the drug, and then she would administer it. Most of the doctors, I am told, wouldn't bother to see what is being given to the patient. Their duty is to see that the patient is given the drug. Which drug and why is not their concern. Similarly with Dr. Badiga. But as he said, something made him just look at the drug being prepared. He doesn't know what it is, but something made him look at it. And he could immediately recognize that it was the anti-leukemia drug prescribed, but in its place, the senior nurse had used potassium chloride. You can understand the consequences more than I, because I'm a student of literature, that as he says, if he hadn't looked at it and stopped the nurse from preparing and administering the drug, and if he hadn't changed the drug, the patient would have died. That means the nurse and then Dr. Badiga and the entire medical faculty of the hospital, all of them would have been sued for medical negligence. He says, I quote Dr. Badiga, "It was my sheer luck that saved the situation, that saved the patient, and saved my honor." He accepts. He could have been sued for medical negligence, and all his dreams of achieving something very big in the medical field would have come to nothing. But luckily, thank God, it didn't happen. There is a divinity which shapes our ends, and that divinity has looked after Dr. Baliga always, very kindly and very lovingly. Different from these incidents, this biography, like any other biography or a novel, gives us many other curious facts. I shall mention only one and pass on, because I think the time given to me is approaching. Therefore, everyone knows that there are home remedies for simple illnesses like a cold, running nose, ear pain, headache, etc. I mean, normally they don't rush to a doctor. Okay. Dr. Baliga remembers something, and Professor Dayananda records it, and I am really surprised because I hadn't heard of such home medicine till now. I come from a village, a very small village, and my mother and father also and others in the village would have so many home medicines and home drugs. Very few would go to a hospital which was only the government hospital in that village. And that is taking up a chili, a long red chili, making a hole in it, pouring coconut oil into that chili, in the hole made into the chili, and then holding it in near the ear and gently pressing it, so that the coconut passes through the chili, the belly of the chili, let us say, and then falls, and it seems the ear pain completely vanishes. Why the chili, why not directly the coconut oil? I don't know. I mean, I hadn't heard of it till now. What I knew was this: coconut oil is okay. In my younger days, my mother or somebody, an old woman, grandmother, if somebody had a ear pain, he or she would take up a piece of dry coconut, kobri, Kannadalli ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಅದು, dry coconut, slightly warm it, then put some salt, make it into a knot in a piece of cloth, and then put it on the ear of the boy or the girl suffering, and within no time it would disappear. This I knew, but the chili business I didn't know, and I would like to know how it comes up and for what reasons as such. There are many more incidents and experiences like this I can talk about. But I shouldn't forget this is a festive occasion and not a classroom. This is the problem with teachers. They think that whenever they are asked to talk, they are in the classroom and they go on and on until they hear the bell ring. But luckily here there is no bell, and therefore I need to be worried about it. Still, I would like to make one more point before I conclude, and that is very rare. Dr. Baliga's objective critique of his own profession. Dr. Baliga's objective critique of his own profession. This we find in the 9th chapter of the book. The entire chapter consists of a sort of loud thinking on the part of Dr. Baliga about his own profession. That is about the medical profession, about doctors, the place of technology in the medical field, and all that. And Dr. Baliga begins this critique with this statement. I am quoting, we the doctor friends are solely responsible to let down ourselves in the eyes of the people. If today not many respect and love a doctor, it doesn't apply to all doctors as he himself says, but it applies to quite a few. as they used to be respected in the olden days. The doctor would be respected like God. Vaidyo, Narayano, Hari. They literally believed it. But today nobody says a doctor is like a God. Why? We have let down our profession, Dr. Baliga says, and then he raises a few questions which all doctors should ask themselves. Are we guilty of medical negligence? Are we over-investigating and over-treating our patients? Are we over-prescribing drugs in order to help pharmaceutical industry? The answer for all the three questions is partly, not completely, partly yes. Yes to all the questions. And therefore, he concludes his loud thinking this way. He says, I am convinced more and more that my clinical time is my forte as a doctor, which can bridge the relationship between the wellness man, the doctor, and the patient as human beings living in the same society. From the point of view of the layman, this is what is important, to see the patient living in the same society in which the doctor lives, not to see the patients as guinea pigs, not to see the patients as coin machines. The more you press the machine, the more money comes up. They are also human beings, like the doctors and nurses and surgeons and others, and all of them live in the same society, perhaps getting the same food. It is this understanding of the medical profession that has made him a great man. And what he says here as a loud thinking is borne out by another wonderful book that I read, which I am sure all of you have read, because most of your doctors here and all doctors would have read that, and that is Arthur Haley's Strong Medicine. Arthur Haley's Strong Medicine, a wonderful book which exposes the unholy relationship between the pharmaceutical industry and the medical profession, and then the unholy alliance between the politicians, the pharmaceutical industries, and the medical profession, with research-based actual facts and figures and incidents. If you haven't read it by chance, and if you are interested in the medical field and what goes on there, I think you should read it. I have read it at least 5 times, and therefore I can appreciate what Dr. Baliga says in this. I can only add one sentence. I can't add more to what Dr. Baliga says, and that is, may his tribe increase. Dr. and Mrs. Baliga, it has been a wonderful opportunity for me to be here and to wish you on your 70th birthday, which a chant, peace chant. I don't want to give the whole peace chant because it takes time. Therefore, as I say, most of this. Shanno astu dvipade, sham chatushpade, sham, happiness, whatever is good, mangala karavadaddu. Shanno astu dvipade, that is for the two-legged beings in this world, in this universe, let there be happiness. Sham chatushtaye, for the four-legged beings also, let there be peace and happiness in this world. Shanno astu dvipade, shan chatushpade, om shanti shanti shanti.
Thank you very much. There was quite a wonderful discussion and the overview and the critique of the book, Guardian of Hearts. We are immensely happy about the way you increased the book, and I thank you for that. I now request Dr. V.G. Baliga and Srimati Aruna Baliga to kindly honor our critique. Sir, kindly take the, please. Thank you very much. Dr. S.S. Iyengar is a dear friend and a mentor of Dr. Baliga, and he has written an preface to this book. I request him to give us a brief description of his thoughts. Please, sir.
And their family members, Dr. Kamath and Professor C.N. Ramachandran, Professor Dayananda and other dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening to you. It was indeed my honor to have written a foreword for the book of Dr. Baliga. And this is an additional honor that I've been asked to be part of this and say a few words. A few words about the book and then a few words about the person who has been portrayed in that book. Now this book has been very well written by Professor Dayananda, and the publisher has done an excellent job putting the picture of this smart and handsome man on that portrait. My compliments to Professor Dayananda as well as the publisher. In a society, there are many untold stories and there are many unsung heroes, and books like this bring them to the light. And you will, once you read this book, you will know, you will read many stories about this hero. Dr. Baliga has been a fine friend of mine. He is a competent cardiologist and above all, a good human being. And it was my good fortune that I got associated with him in some of the activities of our cardiological society, along with one of my other friends here, Dr. Ramesh. We did some mega projects for the society, and it was a pleasure working with him because he was punctual and he always very pertinent in his remarks, precise in his instructions, and he was quite proactive. And this man has been successful in his life and in his profession. And behind this successful man is, of course, Mrs. Baliga. She was not only behind him, she was with him in most of his ventures, adventures, and his achievements. She's a very pleasant lady, and me and my wife have had the fortune of enjoying the hospitality on many occasions. And other thing I forgot to mention about Dr. Baliga, he's got a great sense of humor, and unfortunately I cannot share some of his jokes in this audience. And I would like to say what Professor Baliga himself has said in his book. One's riches must be judged by one's words, thoughts and deeds. So Baliga has noble words, noble thoughts and noble deeds, and he has made a unique place for himself in this noble field. With this, on behalf of all my cardiology friends and others from the Cardiology Society and common friends, I would like to wish Dr. Baliga and his family health, happiness, peace and prosperity, and wish them happy landings in all their flights of life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those wonderful words. I request Mrs. Dayananda to take the stage. Is she here? Okay. I request my father and mother to kindly honor both of them, please. Thank you very much. Dr. Ramachandran unfortunately has other commitments and he gives his apologies. He has to leave, but I thank him very much for taking the time to come today and speak to us. A round of applause, please. Thank you, sir. Now, to me, he is Shantram Ajja, but my father is Uncle Shantram Baliga, and he is a patriarch of the Baliga family. He is here to bless us today on this occasion, and I request him to say a few words, please.
All the luminaries on the August dais, including the hero among them, Dr. Ganesh Baliga, and the illustrious members of audience. I should confess that I am not a doctor, I am not a writer, I am not a speaker, I am just an old man, but the oldest perhaps living man of our family. That is my qualification. I had a poem when I was doing my matriculation in which something like a philosophy was propounded by its poet. I have forgotten his name, but the name of the poem was King Canyon. In the old order changeth, building place to new, lest
one good order should corrupt the world. Now, I think this program proves him to be wrong, because honoring the old people was an old custom, but today honoring an old man like me has taken place here, and Dr. Ganesh Bali has proved him to be wrong. By honoring me, the old order still continues. I went through Dr. Balida's words there. My profession began with Hippocratic oath. I am reminded of the words of the Hippocrates of Ayurveda, Charakacharya. He says, the purpose of medical practice is Natmartham. It is not for my sake. Napi kamartham. It is not to have my own desires fulfilled. Ata bhutapayan prati. Bhutadaya is compassion towards all the living beings, not only human beings. Charakacharya says, Natmartham, Napi kamartham, Atha bhutadayam prati. I think Hippocratic oath may not be different. I hope it will be the same, because medical profession means it is healing the ailing community, whether it is a human being or an animal. I think my dear Ganesh, I was having a problem. How shall I call him? Or call him Dr. Ganesh, oh Professor Ganesh, like that. But he is my dear own Ganesh to me all the while. So I think my dear Ganesh is following the same oath. And I think I was told by one of my elders that our forefather who migrated to Punjalkatte from Bandwal, we Baligas belong to Bandwal. Actually, that forefather migrated to Punjalkatte. When he left, as his share, he took a cow and its calf on his shoulders, and he walked all the distance to Punjalkatte. I think his unselfish genes might have directly flown into the blood of Dr. Ganesh Balika. That is how he is so selfless. Today, I think, as the oldest living member of our family, it will be my right and it will be my duty to bless my dear Ganesh, his family, his sons, his grandchildren, his daughter-in-law, and all of them, to be blessed by the greatest of doctors, God. May he live for another 50 years and serve the humanity. With this brief, I may not call it speech, these few words, I will go back to my seat. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anjana sir. I think they stirred up quite a few emotions in all of us. Thank you so much for those kind words. I request Auntie also to come and take the stage so that my father and mother can honor both of them. Thank you. This function is an occasion to remember people and their services with love and respect. Dr. Baliga thinks that all his achievements and successes must be attributed to many people: his family, his siblings, his patients, the professional fraternity, and Almighty God. He would like to express his gratitude to all of them. I invite my father to say a few words, please.
Before I start, I must make it very clear. Despite my mother using the coconut oil, my hearing is perfectly fine. Dear friends, my dear friends, what a fantastic view. I'm delighted to see you all. I don't know what to say. I'm lost for words, but let me start by saying this is one of the most happiest, memorable, and a very emotional day for me. And you did it for me by your gracious presence, overwhelming response, your love and affection. Thank you all again. Now let me start. Respected Chief Guest, Dr. C.R. Kamath, for me of course is always Dr. Dear Shantaram Uncle, my dear friend Professor Iyengar, respected Dr. Ramchandran, Sri Nagaraj Rao, Professor Dayananda, and my dear wife Aruna, professional colleagues, friends, invitees, my dear patients, ladies and gentlemen. I believe it is the most sacred duty to offer gratitude to one's parents with respect and love on this occasion. It is absolutely true with me. I know Dad and Mom's presence for the blessings to all of us. For a person, a moment like this, for a person, a moment like the one on this occasion should be truly blessing of the Almighty. It is a dream come true for me. I say this because I enjoy the blessing of the Lord this moment in the presence of all the chosen people around me. Some months ago, it all happened when Professor Dayananda, a good friend and a patient too, showed his inclination to do my life to showcase what I have been as a human being in the society. And my initial reaction was just an emphatic disapproval of such an idea. But Professor Dayananda is a good stickler. He broached the idea again and convinced me about his project and to do the biographical sketch of my life. Therefore, we have gathered here to celebrate the book launch event on this occasion. Personally, I still feel whether the acceptance of Professor's idea was justified. My early years in the profession meant to make a living for me and to keep my family in good condition. Slowly, my thinking and conscience focused on humanity concerns, which made me bother more about my patients. I shared the joy in their recovery and was also deeply sad. If there was a deterioration or demise, Obviously, I became even sentimental about my patients. There is one more thing about a medical practice. Patients are not just health seekers for me. Some of them became friends, philosophers, and proved to be extraordinary human beings. They all taught me what it was to be a human being, how to respond to humanity. Pardon me, please. The tidal wave of my life would have been taken a long to become somebody other than a medical doctor if only Dr. C.R. Kamath, my uncle, an ophthalmologist from Bangalore, had not corrected my course of studies, helping me to join a science course with biology and other course subjects at St. Aloysius College in the year 1965. Dr. Kamath, my well-wisher, a philosopher and a guide, is here on the occasion. This is the most unbelievable happening on this occasion. The revered gentleman has come to bless me. My sincere gratitude to him, truly a great soul that made my life to be a medical doctor. The ebb and flow of life is common to all. I faced the same situation as I landed in Bangalore in 1985. With some anxiety and hesitation, I tried my luck here in this city to establish myself as a medical practitioner. A number of family doctors extended their helping hand to prove my capability in my field, and my success must be attributed to all of them. Elsewhere, I have courteously remembered every one of them and expressed sincere gratitude to them wholeheartedly. My presence as a heart specialist came to be more sustained as I interacted with other professional colleagues in this place. And to my enjoyment, I must say that other distinguished colleagues in the field recognized me and extended positive support in my practice. Their friendship and association came to be my forte. I rejoiced their company and moment of discussion with the colleagues. I should be remembering all of them in my narration in the book released a little while ago. However, when they are present here, my personal thanks and gratitude to all of them. My family with Aruna Badiga and my sons, Dr. Vivek Badiga and Vikram Badiga, along with Sindhu, our daughter-in-law and grandson, Vihan, deserves my mentioning on this occasion. Especially Aruna, my wife, did put up with my idiosyncrasies for many years. Hats off to her. Now it is tangible to show everybody by her as the patron of the book. Dr. Vivek Badiga, my own extension of a medical practitioner who with magnanimity arrived from England to continue my clinic as a heart specialist. He has taken up the mantle of responsibility of the clinic and diagnostic center on his shoulders and service to my present childhood. He deserves my affection and thanks for the same. His wife Sindhu Badiga has started a pharmacy services to our patients. She manages the staff and finances of our establishment. I must say she is doing a great job. Vikram Badiga, my younger son, an engineer, has been in England for the last few years. He has shaped himself as an affable person with a great sense of human concern at the place of working. I see him as a gritty man, characterized by sincerity and in all his activities. Aruna and I are very proud of him. This to stay away from the family has made us learn patience that has sustained us to live with great affection for him. My brothers and all sister-in-laws and my only sister and my brother-in-law should be remembered without any reservation. They all shaped me to regard life in its totality. For the affection, I am always grateful to them. Also, I should do well in remembering my in-laws and their families for their cooperation to make me a successful doctor. Dr. Anuradha Rammohan is an indispensable part of Badiga Diagnostic Private Limited. Without her enthusiasm, perhaps Badiga Clinic would be on a slow-paced progress. Her commitment to the center is one of absolute sincerity. She deserves to be thanked profusely for her devout work in the lab. Srimati Smita Umashankar, a dear friend of our family, is an unforgettable lady in my practice. She did a wonderful job of maintaining a detailed computerized data of my patients for the last 20 years, and Now I can boast to say that my clinic can have a regular coverage data of all my patients. My sincere thanks to Smita and her family. My staff, both past and present, in the clinic and diagnostic unit have a great sense of service and they are always ready to take care of patients. My thanks to all of them. Dr. Dayananda stealing the show today. His book has been launched to the public. Guardian of Hearts happens to be his 7th book in the biography genre as a literary writer. My wife Aruna, as a patron, we all members of my family would express grateful thanks to Professor Dayananda for everything they have done for us. I wish the blessing of the Lord on everybody. Finally, thank you all for your affection, concern, for what little I did in my profession. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu.
Thank you, Dad. I think we practiced that quite a few times. My father really has heartfelt thoughts that he wanted to express today to all of you. I don't think there are really words that can describe how much he cares for people and patients that he has had over the last 40 years of practice. Personally, I hope to reach one stage of my life. I think I've got big shoes to fill, I certainly do, and I really hope one day I will make my dad proud of reaching the level that he has. I now request Sri Nagaraj Rao to kindly honor Dr. Barijan, my father, please.
kg, sir.
Nagaraj Rao Srikakashna to give a few words, speak a few words regarding this publication.
ಇದೊಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸಮಾರಂಭ. ಯಾದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸಮಾರಂಭ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀನಿ ನಾನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಬಾಳಿಗ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಗೌರವ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನ ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಈ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಇದೊಂದು ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಸಮಾರಂಭ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ ನಾನು. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ, ನಾವು ಮಾತಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಸಂಗಿಗಳು ಬಂದಾಗ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ, ಜಗತ್ತ ರಕ್ಷಕ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಅನಾಥ ರಕ್ಷಕ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಸಕಲ ಜೀವ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಕ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಸಹ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮನಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ನಾವು ಯಾದಕ್ಕೆ ಆತನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವನು ಅವನು ಅನ್ನುವ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇದೆ. ಅನಾಥರನ್ನ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವನು ಆ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇದೆ. ಸಕಲ ಜೀವಿಗಳನ್ನು ಸಹ ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವನು ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ಅನ್ನುವುದು ನಮ್ಮ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮನನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಆಧುನಿಕ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಹೃದಯಗಳಿಗೆ ರಕ್ಷಾ ಕವಚರಾಗಿ ನಿಂತು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಉಸಿರನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಜೀವವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಜೀವನವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸಜ್ಜನ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಸಹೃದಯ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅವರು. ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾನು ಮತ್ತೆ ದಯಾನಂದ ನಮ್ಮಿಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಜೀವವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟವರು, ಪ್ರಾಣವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಂಥವರು ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅವರು. 2 ಸಾರಿ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ದಯಾನಂದಿಗೆ. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 3-4 ಗಂಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸತ್ತೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಇಮ್ಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ರೆಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಂಥವ್ರು ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅವರು. ಯಾಕೆ ನಾನು ಈ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಶಂಸೆ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಬ್ರು ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇಂಥ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿಗಳು ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅವರೇ, ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ನಿಮಗೆ 100 ಕಾಲ ಆಯಸ್ಸು, ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶಕ್ತಿ, ಆ ಹೃದಯತೆ, ಆ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ನೀವು ನಂಬಿರುವ ಗಣೇಶ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಐದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಈ ದಯಾನಂದ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನು ದಯಾನಂದನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ದಯಾನಂದ ನಾನು ಇಬ್ಬರು ಸಹ ಬಾಲ್ಯ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು, ಈ ಚಡ್ಡಿ ದೋಸ್ತ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗೆ ಬೆಳೆದಂಥವ್ರು. ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಜಿ.ವಿ. ನಾರಾಯಣಮೂರ್ತಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಆದರ್ಶಗಳನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದಂಥವ್ರು. ಅವರಿಂದ ಪ್ರೇರಿತನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವನು ನಾನು. ದಯಾನಂದ ನನ್ನ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ 16 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಚಿತ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆಯೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಶಂಸನೀಯವಾದದ್ದು. ಕಾದಂಬರಿಯನ್ನ, ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನ, ಕವನಗಳನ್ನ ಬರೆಯುವ ಶ್ರಮ ಬೇರೆ, ಆದರೆ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಚಿತ್ರವನ್ನು ಬರೆಯತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶ್ರಮ ಬಹಳ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯಿಂದ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. 4-5 ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಚಿತ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಿರೀಟಪ್ರಾಯವಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಹೃದಯವನ್ನು ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅವರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರ ನಡೆ, ನುಡಿ, ಅವರ ಸಂಪ್ರದಾಯಗಳು, ಅವರು ಬದುಕಿ ಬಂದಂತಹ ರೀತಿ, ಅವರ ಶ್ರಮ, ಅವರು ನಡೆದಂತಹ ದಾರಿ, ಅವರು ಶ್ರಮಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಅನೇಕ ಮಜಲುಗಳು, ಕಹಿ ಘಟನೆಗಳು, ಸಿಹಿ ಘಟನೆಗಳು, ಸದಾಕಾಲ ನೆನಪಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭಗಳು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಸಹ ಸಮರ್ಥವಾಗಿ, ಅದು ವಿಚಾರ, ಸಮರ್ಥವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಲೋಪ ದೋಷಗಳಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಚಿತ್ರವನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಇಡತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಬಾಳಿಗಾವರ ಪುಣ್ಯವೂ ಹೌದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಶೃಂಗಾರ ಪ್ರಕಾಶದ ಪುಣ್ಯವೂ ಹೌದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಶೃಂಗಾರ ಪ್ರಕಾಶದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ದಯಾನಂದನನ್ನ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಬಲಗಾಯ ಆಗಿ ನಿಂತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶಾಂತಲ ಅವರನ್ನ ನಾನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಆಭಾರಿಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದೆ, ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಶೃಂಗಾರ ಪ್ರಕಾಶನ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಮ್ಮೂರು ಚಿಕ್ಕನಾಯಕನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತುಮಕೂರು ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕನಾಯಕನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ತಾಲ್ಲೂಕು. ಆ ತಾಲ್ಲೂಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು ನಾವು 30 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಶೃಂಗಾರ ಪ್ರಕಾಶನವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸುಮಾರು 300ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ತಂದಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನನ್ನ ಮಗ ರಾಘವೇಂದ್ರ, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಪ್ರತಿ ತಿಂಗಳು ಸಹ 1,000 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಅಚ್ಚು ಹಾಕಿಸಿ, ಅದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಚಿತ್ರ ಅಚ್ಚು ಹಾಕಿಸಿ ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲು ಮತ್ತು ಕಾಲೇಜು ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಉಚಿತವಾಗಿ ನೀಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಪ್ರತಿ ತಿಂಗಳು 1,000 ಯೋಜನೆಯನ್ನು ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ 6,000 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಅಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಹುಡುಗರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. 6,000 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳಿದೆ, ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಾನು ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಶೃಂಗಾರ ಪ್ರಕಾಶನ ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಮಹನೀಯರ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ರಕಟ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, ಅವರ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ಬಂದಾಗ ಎಂಥ ಆನಂದ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಬಾಳಿಗಾರವರೇ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನಂತ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ನಾನು, ನನ್ನ ಇಡೀ ಕುಟುಂಬ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಸದಾಕಾಲ ನೆನಪು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಸ್ಮರಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ. ದೇವರ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಳಿಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಮಲ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Dayananda sir, thank you so much. I request my father and mother to kindly honor sir. And madam, sir.
ಇನ್ನೂ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ, ಬದುಕಿರುವಂತೆ ಮುಗಿದು ಆಯ್ತು.
My father is sitting in front of you today because he chose a career path and was guided onto that path by Dr. C.R. Kamal. I request my Ajja, my uncle Ajja, to kindly come and say a few words, please.
A round of applause, please.
One of the advantages of being a chief guest and the presiding authority of a program is all that I have to do is to agree with all that has been said and sit down. I'm very well beholden to Ganesh and his family members for having invited me to be a part of this function, and not only that, to perform this onerous task of releasing the book, Guardian of Hearts. I'm very grateful to them, and the only way I can express my gratefulness by saying thanks for having made this day necessary. After listening to all the speakers that have spoken all along, I find myself a little inadequate, to say the least. But then there is an explanation for all this. If you kill one man, you are a killer. If you kill many, you are a war hero. If you steal from one man, you are a thief. If you steal from many, you are the finance minister. If you copy from one man, you are a copycat or a plagiarist, as they say. But if you copy from many, you are the research scholar. And that's what I am, a research scholar at this moment. I deem it a pleasure and a privilege to be with you this evening. Not every day you get called for inaugurating a book release or whatever. But then today it has happened to be the biography of my own nephew, my own student, an immensely happy and cultured cardiologist, and above all a good human being. To be able to do this job, I feel myself totally inadequate. An eminent monk of the Ramakrishna order had once told me, long ago, he said, Ramakrishna, remember one thing. There are two occasions in life. When someone supersedes you, you'll be very happy and very enjoyable. That first is when it's your son, second when it's your student. And all the students that have gathered here, and including Ganesh Parekh, of course, have superseded me by mindset. And I'm extremely happy to do that. At this point of time, I fondly remember Rajvaka and Punbaji. Rajvaka was much senior to me though, but we are very close. And I remember the first pregnancy that she stayed with me. Pushparika is the evidence. I remember also the children and the siblings of Ganesh Parika. Pushparika I call him, even though he's my nephew Pursha and his wife, Jagdish and his wife, Rajaram and his wife, Narendra and Ravindra, and all of them. Aruna and children, Vivek and Vikram require a special mention little later. Rajavaka was, as I told you, very close to me, though she was much senior to me. I remember the time when she spent some time with us during her first pregnancy. I remember that for a special reason, because our house, my father also was a doctor, and our house was a nursing home for all my friends and relatives in those days. And I remember the time when she wanted to be, she was, the craving for peanuts. And my father was totally against eating peanuts. And she used to call me and say, go and get some. Some for you, some for me. I used to stealthily go and get those peanuts and give it to her during that period of time. And every time I passed Panjalghata on way to Dharmasala or various other places, I used to make it a point to stop her, talk to her, have a cup of coffee and then proceed. I still continue to do that if Pursha continues to give me the same hospitality. The next person I remember very fondly is Pundlik Babaji. Now Pundlik Babaji was a great man, very sincere, very simple, very straightforward. And the interesting facet is that after finishing his work in Bangalore on jewelry business, he used to stay overnight with us because there was no bus to take him to Pinjalkata. And during one of those occasions, we started talking about various aspects of life and children growing up. And he had a dream. Dreaming is not what is, but what can be. And his dream was that Ganesh should become a doctor. But he has his own repetitions. He said that, look, I don't believe that it can happen ever. You are a doctor, your father was a doctor, so no wonder that you have become a doctor. In those days, doctor's son became a doctor, the cobbler's son became a cobbler, except for, of course, the first president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. His father was also a cobbler, by the way. And jeweler's son is becoming jeweler. I said, but Babaji, it is no longer true. Things have changed now. Like for instance, the farmer's son, he is at sea, and the sailor's son is beneath the tree. And doctor's son has a headache, and the psychiatrist's son, he wets the bed. That's the situation now. As I continued talking to him, I persuaded him to give up this idea about not making him a doctor. He might have joined commerce course, but I told him we'll see to it that his course direction changes. He'll become a science graduate. And I went to the Kasura Medical College, got an application form, asked him to fill it up and sent it on. From there on, what happened is history. Ganesh started his career in St. Aloysius College. From there on to KMC, there on to London, and became a cardiologist of repute. And from there he came back all the way to Bangalore, Bangalore, and became a guardian of hearts. Don't you think you should applaud him for that? I have played a minuscule role in his becoming a doctor, but he gives me immense compliment for this. I accept that heartily and humbly. Incidentally, I find myself in a very tight spot. All that I came to say has already been said by so many people that I don't know what to say. I am reminded of a situation that occurred with Mark Twain, I believe. He was traveling from London to Glasgow, where he was invited to talk to a big audience. And his friend along with him was Douglas. And Douglas insisted on speaking first. He was so exhaustive, there's hardly anything left for Mark Twain to say. Do you know what he did? He played on the strategy. He said, ladies and gentlemen, something happened on the train when we were traveling from London to Glasgow. We exchanged our speeches. He has read mine, I've lost his strategy. I can't do that, can I? I have known Ganesh from his tea bandage days. Yes, from the... And all that has been said about his being a temper and all that is not really true. He's a very simple person, very well behaved, extremely nice boy, very disciplined, well, mostly. As I grew up, I found in him the same qualities being exaggerated and prominently being seen, and I've thoroughly enjoyed having him as my nephew. He's honest, he's sincere, he's committed, and straightforward person. Early in life, he realized that taking the path of honesty is very simple, for the simple reason that there is very little crowd in that pathway. And the greatest reason people suffer from is worried about what others have to say about him, or for that matter. And he was not the influential sign at all. I have never tried to advise him. Giving advice to Ganesh is carrying food to Dhanbad. You know, Dhanbad is the whole capital of India. No longer carrying gold to Newcastle, because Newcastle there is no gold. There is no gold at all. Besides, some of my doctor friends and students here realize that giving advice is easy. Giving and taking that advice is very difficult. It is like castor oil. Easy to prescribe but very difficult to take. I would rather place before him a fund of knowledge, as it is said. A fund of knowledge. What exactly is a fund of knowledge? Simple. There was this engineer who was driving a car home for lunch. Halfway through it stopped. He didn't know what to do. What do we normally do when the car stops? We raise the bonnet and bang it down and it starts the car. We don't know why it stopped, we don't know why it started. And the same situation was the engineer. He did that 2 or 3 times, nothing happened. So the mechanic was passing by. He said, "Can I help you, sir?" He said, "Yes, certainly do. Do you have a screwdriver?" He said, "Yes, I have a screwdriver." Gave him a screwdriver, lifted the bonnet, tightened the screw and said, "Start the car now." Pronto, the car started. He said, "How much do I owe you?" 100 rupees, sir, simple. 100 rupees for tightening a screw? No, sir. 1 rupee for tightening a screw, 90 rupees for knowing which screw to tighten. Next question is very simple. Why has he invited me to raise this? Thereby hangs the story. It's a very favorite story of mine. There was once an Assistant Secretary of Defense who was addressing a large gathering like this. And he was holding a styrofoam cup in his hand, from which he was sipping coffee off and on. And suddenly in the middle of the speech, he smiled at the audience, deviated from his prepared text, raised the styrofoam cup and said, "Last year I was the Secretary of State. This year I am a retired Secretary of State. Last year they flew me by business class. There was someone waiting for me at the airport to take me to the hotel. And the hotel I was already booked in, and that same man took my luggage and put it in the room concerned. And next day morning when I came down to the reception, he was waiting for me. He took me to the same venue, took me to the back door and offered me a cup of coffee in a beautiful ceramic cup. What happened this day? I flew by economy class. There was nobody waiting for me at the airport. I took the car, a taxi and went to the hotel. Nobody there to book me in. Likewise, I have come here. I went to the green room, asked for a cup of coffee, and the gentleman showed me the coffee dispenser in the corner and said in as many words, "Go and fetch your own coffee." So this is the styrofoam cup on which I filled my cup. Please remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I deserve. This is what all of us deserve, a styrofoam cup. The ceramic cup is given to the position that I hold and not for the person that I am. But there is a little distinction between America and India. In here, we respect our elders, we respect our teachers, we respect our parents. And that's exactly why Ganesh has called me to do this job, because of the respect and love that he has. It is this sterling quality which has helped him to rise in his profession as a person and as a physician as well. I am beholden totally. Let us take a look at the situation of doctors today. Somebody has mentioned about Vaidyo Narayano Hari. Yes, today also the patients respect the doctors. They say, "Oh, you old doctor, you are the healer of diseases." But now they say with this difference. I salute you, after all you are the brother of Yama, but with this difference between your brothers. Yama takes life only, you take life and money as well. Now, why have doctors become unpopular? Now, here is a critical thing that I came across some other time in a book written by one of my consultants in England. Doctors speak, and what exactly do they mean when they say this? I'm not insulting the fraternity of doctors, I am a doctor myself. But I'm mentioning this only to remind ourselves that we should not fall into this kind of a trap. Doctor says, what does it mean? That's what I'm saying now. Now, it could be one of several things he tells the doctor, if the patient. What exactly it means is, I haven't the foggiest idea what's wrong with you. And he says, are you sure you haven't had this before? And that's what it means is, you sure haven't got it again now? I would like to repeat the test once again. What does it mean? He says that the laboratory has lost your blood samples. These pills have very little side effects. Yes. You may experience sudden hair growth on your palms. That's it. Why don't we go over these symptoms once again? I can't remember who you are or what you are suffering from. That's what exactly it means. There's a lot of this going around. Again, we will give it a name as soon as we figure out what exactly it is. This kind of doctor's attitude of remembering and not forgetting the sublime attitude of our senior, maturity of our senior. His knowledge is always tempered by wisdom. We must develop the ability to consistently and with conviction act on the best interests of the patient. Ganesh is a standing example of that. I'll give you a small example. A good surgeon knows how to operate. An expert surgeon knows when to operate. And a brilliant surgeon knows when not to operate. That has been his life ambition all through the years. He was once asked, who is your VIP patient? Do you know what he said? The poorest of the poor, one who is not able to pay, not one who has the insurance cover. That is my VIP patient. He has never allowed a patient to go and leave his clinic without being treated just because he didn't have money to pay. I know it of my personal knowledge. The sole meaning for life for him has been to serve humanity. The second question was asked of him. This is a very funny question. He says, what pains you most in your private practice? He says, rich patient asking about discount. Has everything been going on nicely for him? While in England something interesting happened. I would just like to share with you. None of these people know about it. He was once returning from his clinic, from his hospital to his house. Aruna was already in India at that time. There was nobody at home. And he suddenly found that his bathroom was flooded with water and he was about to leak into his bedroom and sitting room. He didn't know what to do. It was late in the evening. Did anybody come at this time to repair it? So he phoned up, look at the yellow pages. He phoned up to one plumber, and the plumber came swiftly. Within 10 minutes he was there in his car, and he came and took his tongues and said, oh my God, you seem to be having a problem now. He said, that's why exactly I called you, sir. No, let's see how we can sort it out. So he went inside, tightened a couple of screws, saw the water flowing, the water drained out. So Ganesh in his piety and wish asked him, how much do I pay you? He said, 50 pounds. He said, 50 pounds for a small job. I'm just an ordinary cardiologist. I can't afford that kind of money. Don't I know, sir? I am also a cardiologist before I became a plumber. Varuna has been his mate since 1976. I have read Leo Tolstoy, and in which he says, a husband who is not supported by his wife, but supported by millions of people around the world cannot survive. But on the contrary, if the wife supports the husband, even if the entire world is against him, he can still survive. That's what exactly he has done. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the power of the wife. I hope my wife is also listening. I've come across this also as a fact. A good wife always excuses her husband when she is wrong. Interestingly, I came across another issue. A professor of psychology was taking a class for the senior citizens, not really senior citizens, but elderly people, elders. And in the middle of the class, he suddenly reminded himself and saying that I have a small little example to give you, and I would like a volunteer. One volunteer by name Sarah came up, and he said, there's something I would like you to do. Go to the blackboard and write the names of people whom you are very close to. She started writing about 13 names. And he said, now, wipe out 5 names which are not as important to you as they were written. She was wondering what to do now. She started wiping the names of her colleagues. Then he said, now wipe 3 more names of those who have written there on the blackboard. So she thought for a while, but she was becoming a little tense. She wiped out the names of those people who were her neighbors. Ultimately, the process of wiping out, the 4 names were left. And they were her parents, her son, and her husband. And the whole class was now a little tense because what is he going to ask next? The professor said, no, wipe out the names of 2 more people in that book. Most hesitantly, with tears welling up in her eyes, he took the duster in his hand and slowly started wiping the names of her parents. Then the professor said, wipe 1 more name. She almost refused, but she had volunteered to be a party of that experiment. And she said, all right, I'll have to wipe out my name, she said to herself. And almost tears rolling up her cheek, she went and wiped the name of her son. Only 1 name was left, that was the husband. Now they are waiting for an explanation from this lady as to why she did what she did. And she said, of the 4 names, the professor said, you have wiped the names of your parents who have given birth to you, you have wiped their names out. She listened to it, kept quiet. Then you have wiped the name of your son who was your birth, whom you have given birth to. Again she kept quiet. And the husband, you can always get another husband, what's the difficulty? Then she said, no sir, I wiped the name of my parents because sooner or later they are going to depart, whether we like it or not. And about your son? Son is going to find his own way sooner or later. He will leave us and go and pursue his own vocation, get married and settle down somewhere. And husband is the only person who is going to live with me till the end of his life. And that's exactly what I have written. And that's what Allah has done to the woman. The respect that she owes to her husband is that of being with her throughout her life. And there's one interesting episode that took place. See, Ganesh always calls me up whenever he is in difficulty. Rarely he is in difficulty, not cardiology, otherwise. Cardiology I can't help. So on such occasion he said, this was before they were married in 1976, a little earlier than that. They were engaged but not married yet. And he said, Mom, I have a little bit of a problem. I've stolen something, he said. He said, what do you mean by stolen something? Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I have stolen a kiss from my bedroom. What do I do? He said, when you withdraw, when you seal something, you got to replace it. That's the only thing. If you feel guilty, you understood the situation, isn't it? So thereon it went on sealing and replacing it and all that, and by the time family arrived. Now Vivek and Vikram, I have known them from their childhood. I have not known them that intimately, but Vivek, being a physician and a cardiologist, I have been able to run into him once in a while. But Vikram, I am actually meeting for the first time after he has become an adult. But both of them I have known to be excellent boys and have done extremely well for themselves. Now we come to that old part which has already been dealt with in the launching of the book. So I've got very little to add on to it. Professor Dayananda has done a remarkable job. You see, normally at a book launch, only the person's relatives and friends appear at the audience. They may amount to about 10 or 12. But today we see a huge audience here which shows the caliber of the book that has been written and the person about whom the book has been written. I believe a new book smells. An old book smells even greater. The old book smells like the old Egypt, I believe. That's an expression that has been given. Unlike the profile of an individual, the biography is about the life of an individual, the places that he has visited, the people whom he has met, the people whom he has conversed with. See, Professor Dayananda had to meet every one of them repeatedly to be able to collect all the data. He has collected all the data and properly put them in a chronological order. My mother-in-law always used to say, my wife will agree with me, I'm right. There's no point in having everything in your mustak. You should be able to do it in pustak. So that is what he has done it in an extremely good manner. And I congratulate him, sir. You have done a marvelous job. A biography is a biography. A detailed description of a person's life Guardian of Hearts is truly a magnum opus. I congratulate him. I would like to conclude by saying the words of Yajnavalkya, and I can't say it in Sanskrit or in language that he had spoken, but freely translated, this is how it runs. He alone has not lived in vain, who has employed his wealth, his speech, and his words to advance the good of others. That's what Ganesh has done. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Ajay. It was quite an entertaining talk there. I would request Dr. C.R. Kamath and Mrs. Kamath to kindly take the stage so that my father and mother can honor them. Please. Thank you very much. There are persons that mattered most in the life of Dr. Baliga that are being honored on this occasion. Firstly is Srimati Padmavati Shanai. I call her Pammi. She is my dear grandmother. She is the mother-in-law of Dr. Baliga and deserves to be honored for being a great soul of love and concern for our family. I really have no words to say how much she means to our family. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome her to the stage so that my parents may honor her, please.
English ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.